All right, welcome everyone to this special live stream we're doing today. Today's special day, we're going to talk a bit about the announcement that we just did this week. It's the launch of the foundation, and there is a lot to talk about. Something really interesting that is going to happen on the next days, and I'm going to bring someone that you guys know. Just 1 minute, I'm listening myself. I don't know why. What's happening? Okay, hold on. Some technical problems here, guy. Okay. Yeah, figure it out. I was listening to myself on another stream. Okay, so let me bring Mike, our CEO, to the screen. Talk a bit about the foundation and what everyone can expect from the next days and the next months and weeks moving forward. Hello, Mike. Welcome to the live stream. So the stage is yours. And what can you tell us about the launch of the foundation?
Yeah, thanks, Paulo. Yeah, so thanks for having me. I really like our new kind of Hummingbot Live format because I think before we've tried various things, but I think we really want to do more of this and really engage the community in the launch of the Hummingbot Foundation. So today I wanted to really just share what we've been working on and kind of like the mechanics of how the foundation works, why we're doing it, and also some of the partners that we've onboarded who will be celebrating the foundation launch with us. Good.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we have to talk, and I'm especially personally really excited with the plans. And one last thing is that to everyone that's watching us today, so feel free to post any questions that you have on the chat. And after Mike do the presentation, we're going to go through and try to answer this question as best as we can, right?
Yep.
So, okay,
Yeah,
Mike, okay, go on.
All right. Yeah. As well as yeah, feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll try to get through it if it's relevant, or at the end we'll also take questions as well.
Right. Okay. So the stage is yours. Feel free to start sharing with us what's the good news.
Okay. So yeah, so I have a little presentation. I'll just walk through everyone for about 10, 15 minutes. Basically, we just announced on Monday that Hummingbot, which is an open source project, is going to be spun off as an open source foundation, which will take control of the GitHub repository and enable the community to maintain the project going forward. So first, let me give you a bit of background in Hummingbot for those of you listening, about exactly what it is. So we're an open source trading bot project. We launched more than 2 years ago, and it really spun on the fact that we, as Coin Alpha, started with a hedge fund that we manage ourselves called Coin Alpha Falcon. And so one problem we encountered when managing this hedge fund was that when you wanted to run a quant trading strategy on different exchanges, you have to spend all this time really debugging and writing low-level WebSocket connections before you can get to the fun part of actually designing and figuring out a trading strategy. And this like really low-level drudgerous work of building exchange connections was something that we observed, not just us, everyone was doing that in the industry. Whether you're an individual trader, a professional market making firm, or even the exchange itself is trying to provide liquidity and ensure you have, you can service your traders properly. And so we kind of realized that it would be, the world would just be a better place if someone open source a project that just had like open source integrations to different exchanges, but also offered people really deep access to the order book and it's abstracted kind of the differences between all the exchanges in a standardized way. And so that's really what Hummingbot was. There are other open source solutions out there that we also recommend as well, but I think we really try to focus on because we were a hedge fund ourselves, we try to really create a professional grade set of tool sets in both Python for backtesting and speed, or for Python for usability. And also the other thing we try to do was because we felt that decentralized exchanges were going to be really important in the future, we tried to integrate both centralized as well as decentralized exchanges. So today we have connectors to spot exchanges like Binance and FTX, perpetual-based exchanges like the trade perpetual swaps like Binance Futures, Bybit, and DYDX. But also we're really starting to integrate into Uniswap, both V2 and V3, BAM Balancer, and also to other EVM compatible chains and other chain families as well. including Cosmos with Terra, and in the future Solana and other chain families also. And in the future, our observation is just that as client software, we fill a necessary role in the market because there's so many different protocols out there, and both on both exchange trading protocols, but also decentralized protocols, and people just need help connecting them. So that's something about, and so yes, we really kind of ended up nowadays really kind of being a bridge between centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges on various protocols. And we recently announced that we're really building this new gateway middleware architecture that standardizes integrations to different protocols and also to the exchanges on them. So we're kind of starting with Ethereum and Uniswap, and we're currently adding Avalanche and then Pangolin. But the idea is that to have a really simple kind of template that anyone can copy and add for exchanges and other protocols as well. So finally, our users are really, I would say, a large community of both individual and professional users now. So today, a lot of Hummingbot token issuers provide liquidity for their own tokens, market-making firms, as well as individual traders. And so today we have about 16,000 of these quants in our community. And what really aspire to is a truly decentralized open source code base. And we've had over 100 contributors to that code base. So people also asked about volume. So we actually recently we introduced this heartbeat mechanic that allows users to report their volume on an aggregated, anonymized basis per exchange. And we use this statistic because we have partnership with exchanges that rebate fees back based on usage. And so we've observed the numbers growing steadily. So today we see about $30 to $40 million on average of tracked trading volume through the Hummingbot clients, primarily on Binance, Ascendex, KuCoin, the exchanges where we have Hummingbot Miner there. But we actually suspect a lot more people are using Hummingbot than this because some of our hedge fund and professional users are probably turning off that data collection mechanism in the client when they use it. But for us, it's because most of our users are individual. We do appreciate that our users there's thousands of bots running on a daily basis using our software, providing liquidity to all the different exchanges out there. But what's really sustained Hummingbot and allowed us to take this step of creating this foundation was our launch of our miner platform. We kind of came up with this idea of liquidity mining or decentralized market making back in a white paper we published in October 2019. And we launched the miner platform in March 2020. And since then, it's really kind of become the liquidity solution for smaller token issuers, as well as a great complement to hiring a market maker for some of the larger ones, because it's decentralized and because it kind of acts as like a dissemination and marketing mechanism for the token itself. So today it's on 4 different exchanges, which actually just launched on Gate.io. And so far we've had over 3,000 market makers provide about 2.6 billion in trade volume for over 80 token issuers. And as we expand this platform, we really want to basically scale this platform to every single centralized exchange, and possibly in the future even decentralized exchanges as well. So because of the miner platform, the way we look at it is Hummingbot open source project has really contributed a lot to our success right now. However, we want to make sure the open source project can live and sustain and thrive on its own. What we don't want to be in a scenario where we as a corporate entity are kind of like controlling the open source project and dictating how it changes going forward, because then it's not really a community project and it really doesn't achieve our mission, which has always been to open source algorithmic trading and really democratize finance that way. So that's why we're really proud to announce that in the future we're gonna put the open source project Hummingbot contained in a separate foundation, which will help maintain it and will allow it to scale to every single exchange on every single protocol and support every single trading strategy. And so just like Linux, which is kind of the spiritual predecessor of Hummingbot, we believe that this community maintained model is the best way to allow this to sustain going forward and really become kind of like an open source operating system, if you will, for every crypto trader out there. Then on the other side, but for Coin Alpha, we're very busy running the miner platform and scaling that to every exchange. But we're also really excited about our upcoming Hummingbot Pro product, which is basically a closed source premium kind of plugin that offers both the backtesting engine, the data, the order book data that we've been collecting over the past couple of years that powers that engine, and we're going to package that in more of a hosted service, like an actual graphical interface, something hosted on the web that is aimed at professional Hummingbot users initially. We're alpha testing with a few of our hedge funds, but we also believe that individuals users can use this as well. And so we will be kind of starting to really gradually open that up to some of our Equal Club members in the beta, but then in the future other individual users as well. And because we do believe that backtesting is something that every quant trader should have access to, in order to really test their strategies. And we think we can kind of like package the software in a way that both professional and individual users can make use of the tool. But that really allows us to foundation, and the foundation. Right now we actually have a lot of our engineers devoted to maintaining the open source project, but we feel that making that kind of like sustainable on its own is a great first step in actually enabling the community to steer the project going forward. And so this is kind of the basic flywheel of how the foundation works. And what's interesting to note is that essentially there's kind of like a team within Hummingbot which is already kind of doing this right now and helping to sustain Hummingbot, because basically there are sponsors who are either exchanges or blockchain protocols who are funding bounties, and that those bounties go to maintainers and contributors who are building that infrastructure in the form of exchange connectors or bot trading strategies. And then our population of traders out there, the 16,000 developers and traders in our community, are using these connector strategies to their own capital to provide trading volume to on these blockchains, on these exchanges, and they're earning arbitrage profits by doing so. And so and that way the sponsors themselves, these exchanges, are benefiting from that infrastructure. So in speaking to a lot of our potential sponsors, they feel like this is a kind of like a more sustainable, organic way to incentivize trader adoption than some of the other methods in the past. In the past, financial incentives have always worked well, but I think we all believe that this is a more sustainable way to do it, because you're building trader infrastructure that can be reused, up for eternity anyway. So the cost and the value of what you're building is larger. Plus, by involving kind of decentralized set of maintainers and contributors, you're really also growing the developer population dedicated to this ecosystem and supporting each other and building kind of trading strategies that just help the ecosystem, like the ones that every layer one protocol is trying to build. So the foundation, what's interesting about the foundation is that, like maybe perhaps unlike other nonprofits, it is expected to be sustainable almost at inception, because there's actually kind of these existing revenue streams that Coin Alpha, the parent company behind Hummingbot, is going to kind of transfer over to the foundation. One of which is our exchange fee share agreements. So currently we have a number of agreements with exchanges like Binance, OKX, Huobi, and Bybit that rebate a portion of fees based on the usage of Hummingbot clients that people use. And so the way this works is that there's a custom identifier built into the kind of API header level. So it basically identifies, when you trade using Hummingbot as a Hummingbot user, and then some of that fees are rebated back to the foundation. So currently this fee sharing income has been going to Hummingbot, but we're going to assign those partnerships and contracts over to the foundation so that the foundation can basically sustain itself using that. And in addition, the foundation is also going to perform a lot of the work that we're doing is administering these bounties and hackathons, very similar to how Gitcoin works. And so the work is to basically scope and work with the sponsor to scope the bounty, assign that bounty to develop in the community. And when the developer creates a pull request, the foundation will essentially administer and kind of like scope and review that pull request. So there's actually quite a bit of work the foundation is doing on behalf of each of these kind of bounties. So that's why overall, I would say, and the goal behind this is really to build a sustainable foundation through these sources of income. And then of course, one of the most important kind of like, the roles in this foundation ecosystem are really the sponsors. We actually view Coin Alpha itself as just one of many potential sponsors, and the way that we're funding the foundation and supporting it is through staffing costs. So we'll be essentially kind of like committing or guaranteeing the initial year one staffing costs for people who are be working at the foundation, and we posted some of those roles on our careers page. They include what we're seeking to recruit a really top-notch kind of CFO, COO person who can kind of manage the purse strings and manage all of the exchange and protocol partnerships. In addition, we also have some open roles for project management, support, and community management. But the reason that Hummingbot Foundation exists is because we also have other partners as well, and we're really excited to talk about one of them today, Harmony Protocol, which is basically has committed $2 million to fund kind of like a large partnership with Hummingbot Foundation that we're calling Liquidity DAO. And what's interesting about this is that this is a real DAO, so it's a open collective that comprise of members, some from the Harmony ecosystem, some from the Hummingbot ecosystem, who will provide, who will basically promote liquidity for the Harmony blockchain and for assets on the Harmony blockchain. So here's how it works. Generally, basically the goal, as I mentioned, is to promote liquidity on the Harmony blockchain and for the one token and other assets. And the way it does that is by funding bounties for Harmony-based decentralized exchanges, by doing kind of bot hackathons, and other things like that. So for instance, some of the things that this partnership will take on might be building a connector for SushiSwap, which has about over $100 million of liquidity currently on Harmony. Another interesting kind of project in Harmony is called DeFi Kingdoms. It's kind of it's almost like an RPG combined with an AMM. It currently has over 200 million of TVL, and it's done quite a lot of volume in the past few days. And I think it's a really interesting experiment in kind of like a game plus and a decentralized exchange. And finally, Harmony, one of Harmony's big kind of use cases is bridging other chains to it. It currently operates a bridge to both Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum. And I think so right now there's like a kind of separate bridge client that Harmony still maintains and gives out to like a kind of validators. And I think Hummingbot as a kind of a generalized bot framework, might be it might be possible to kind of like take that bot, existing kind of client and really turn that into like a connector and a strategy that can be more easily maintained and scaled by the community going forward. So those are just a few examples of like kind of like liquidity infrastructure that this DAO will fund. In addition, this DAO will also kind of do things that basically to figure out what the liquidity strategy for Harmony will be. There's a lot of uncertainty and opacity around the value of liquidity, how to measure it, how should kind of like a protocol or token, really like assess and compensate liquidity providers. So I think this is a really rich area of research, and I think this is something that like the people who are participating in this DAO take on. But the reason we think we will succeed is because ultimately what a lot of these chains are looking for are adoption in the form of volume, but also developers and users. And just like as we do for exchanges, because we can track those identifiers at the transaction level, we can really measure the impact that Hummingbot has on each of these ecosystems. And so that's why for Harmony, we're starting small. We're just only starting with like a relatively small commitment from Harmony. I think it's like $2 million over a 4-year period. But we believe that that's enough to really power a good amount of liquidity on Harmony, and that we can kind of replicate this kind of DAO model with other Layer 1 protocol ecosystems as well. So Yeah, that's really the presentation. I wanted to kind of end that here and just really give you guys a preview of how the foundation works. But in general, right now we're kind of like doing the legal parts of setting up a nonprofit foundation, and then we're also kind of like being kind of transferring the IP over and so forth. And we'll probably provide more information over the next kind of like a few weeks on exactly the kind of projects the foundation takes on and exactly how we'll engage with external sponsors as well as with developers and so forth. But I think one thing we're going to try to do is kind of really like scale out this Harmony partnership and then kind of instantiate partnerships really with all the other kind of layer protocols that we've announced in our launch and others as well. Yeah, that's about it, Paulo.
Yeah, that's really great. Actually, I'm really happy to be part of this project, and I mean, one thing I have been using Hummingbot and testing and working with Coin Alpha for a bit more than a year. And one of the amazing things that I learned during this time is actually how interesting democratic open source projects can be, right? Because yeah, our team do most of the work to maintain and things like that, but there is a lot of community contributions that are really good, really interesting. And every time we talk with these developers, they are always excited to contribute to the code base and make the bot even better. So it's a really great perspective when you look into the development of tools and things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree, actually. And what was interesting to me is I think when we first started a couple years ago, it was like we felt we really had to kind of teach people what marketing making is and how it works and everything. But now I find that it's like the strategies our users are creating are actually better than like the ones we've created ourselves. Like we just did a couple of bounties like with DYDX and OpenDeFi, and I really feel like it's like actually I like running the strategies those users created more than the ones we created ourselves. They're actually kind of really like kind of customized, and it really shows that people actually really use this thing. And so that's why they have all these suggestions and features. So honestly, I feel like one reason we're doing this foundation is honestly, I would say to kind of like, not just to give up more control of Hummingbot and kind of work with all these partners, but really to kind of like, almost like, kind of give over control really to our users, to really allow our users who've been longtime members of the community who've been using Hummingbot every single day with their own money, to allow them to really drive how it evolves going forward.
Yeah, that's true. Well, okay, so we do have a question on the chat that is about backtesting. I'm going to let you talk a bit more about it, but at first I just say this is more that we're working on the pro side, right?
Yeah.
But is there any? I know it's still in the early days of developing it, but what else can we tell everyone about the whole idea of the pro?
Yeah, so as background, I would say like it was always been our intention that to launch backtesting, along with Hummingbot. And so as background, I would say backtesting. The reason it's really hard is because you really need order book data. You need to know what's in the order book to backtest in market making or any type of like liquidity provision strategy effectively. And with order book data, because of how kind of dense it is. It's like basically changes more than once every second. So like our order book stream from Binance basically has a diff like 3 or 4 times every second. It's really hard to actually kind of backtest order book data in an optimized way. I'll put it that way. So for instance, if you use like an open source kind of like backtesting engine like Backtrader, and you want to basically have that kind of like granular order book data and you pass it through it, it's gonna take like a day to backtest like a single it's something like it would take like an hour to backtest a single days of backtesting data or something like that. So it's like you're spending more time on the backtesting than how much time you're actually backtesting for. So and really that's the limitation really is Python, because Python is a dynamically scripted language, and this is actually why a lot of traders prefer C++. So this is why we originally wrote Hummingbot in Python, in order to accommodate this backtesting engine that we've been kind of building on the side. And so this is actually why most of our strategies and connectors originate on Cython. So this pro product, what it is really a combination of a stripped down Cython-based backtesting engine that we built ourselves. And so we made this closed source because nothing else like it exists in the world. We can backtest like a day's worth of order book data, in something like 3 seconds. So it's really like 1,000 times faster than the open source version available. So that's why we closed source it. In addition, because you need that order book data along with it, right? And so most people don't have like 3 years of Binance data sitting around, obviously, because it's like multiple like petabytes of data. We've been collecting it as well. So we also have this like lots of like order book data in this big database that's kind of matched up with the backtesting engine. And so and then finally, we all heard from a community, everyone wants more a GUI, a graphical interface, something easier to use. So we also realized we're gonna just we should also just package that in an application, and then allow people to run that as an application, and then maybe also kind of run Hummingbot. So you can also just backtest the strategy and then run Hummingbot live along with that. So that's kind of what we're working toward. And so it's kind of been in alpha for a couple of months. Right now, it's really just a Jupyter notebook, connected to our servers that a few pretty technical hedge funds are running. So I think we're going to try to stage it where the next phase is more like a little closed beta, probably with open up a bit more. It'll still be the Jupyter notebook version, which is really technical and hard to use. And then at the same time, we're working on like a prototype for more of like a graphical interface that we can then maybe like make available to early users like start of next year or so. But this is, I would say, like the pro product is something that it's kind of been behind the scenes for a while, but I think it's going to start becoming like the commercial, kind of like more professional version of Hummingbot. That's kind of going to be a bit different from the open source community version.
Yeah, and one important note here is that when we're talking about backtest, we're not talking about backtesting like close prices of every minute. We're talking about the whole order book information every second, right? So it's indeed a lot of data. So there's a lot of work to be done there.
The pro notebooks, you can with charts for like every order placed, every order canceled, every order filled, and so you can really analyze using historical data how your strategy would have behaved, against that data. So,
not only the pricing but the market dynamics, basically.
Yeah, that's right. So answering the question from user Keith Bum, hi Nico. Basically, because it's Cython, the engine itself is Cython, and it's kind of optimized with kind of like the data structure of how the order book data is like serialized in database. That's kind of how we've optimized speed versus kind of like the open source tool out there.
Right. Yeah. And just to close it up about Pro, the question from William about the pricing structure. What we can say right now actually is that we don't have a pricing model yet. We're more focused on building the whole foundation of the product. So it's not something that we have any idea on the short time to talk about.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say that I think we want to try to make this available to as many people as possible, obviously. But it kind of depends a bit on our cost structure. It's like we're not quite sure right now like how much it costs us in terms of like making the data available. Security is also another concern. So obviously I think we kind of do need to put enterprise first a little bit from a revenue perspective. But our goal as a company is to democratize finance. So obviously we want to make that backtesting engine available to as many people as possible.
Yeah. Well, we do have a very interesting question here about the gateway side. Let me put it on the screen. About EVM compatible, right? So let me start answering this a bit. If you haven't been following us, our dev channels a bit more lately, the idea is that we are totally reworking the gateway to be as much universally possible to add new code or the whole architecture to make it possible to any kind of new connectors to be built upon it. So The first ones we are working is using the EVM compatible gateway. So yeah, the idea is that to be more even simpler, even easier to, for example, create a connector on the BSC network or any other AVM compatible network. Currently, we are testing a bit on Avalanche. We're trying to model using the as a second starting as a second chain that we're going to add as to work the model. And but also not only EVM. The whole idea is that we built in a way that any other blockchain can also be added to gateway in a more structured way, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And actually, so there's a we're actually hosting more of a webinar style of discussion about Gateway in about 2 weeks. So that one is also on events page. That one is a Zoom call, so you'll be also able to ask questions and interact with us, and really like understand how this new gateway architecture works. So, but yeah, we're excited. We want to support every single chain and every single DEX on those chains.
Right. Great. I do have one extra question. I haven't seen anyone ask it, but I'm guessing that this is going to be a pretty common question. What's going to happen with liquidity mining once the foundation launches? How is going to all this structure work? I think it's something that it's good to have more details on this.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Paulo. Because it's basically, as I mentioned earlier, the miner platform is going to stay with Coin Alpha because we view that the miner platform is really kind of like, it's a rewards platform for Hummingbot users, but it's kind of like it's kind of separate from the open source project itself. So the miner platform is kind of like sits with Coin Alpha, and the way we've is Coin Alpha is really, we're just a company that we run businesses that power the Hummingbot ecosystem. And so miner is one example of that business. Another one is Hummingbot Pro. The foundation, the job of the foundation is very simple. It's to maintain an open source project and allow the community to steer how it evolves going forward. So, the Coin Alpha, we're still going to push for improvements in market making strategies because that's what's going to help our users on the miner platform. But then if other users, let's say, want to build like an options module, and and connect to Deribit and really expand the options capabilities of Hummingbot. If they want to integrate with TradingView and add like more directional trading strategies, these are all different ways that people can really use Hummingbot in different ways. And so we actually view all of those ways as possible. And it's kind of like, as long as there's like the will and the people in the community who want to kind of self-organize and submit different and work on different types of contribution to Hummingbot, that was great. And so the way that we see the Hummingbot Foundation working is that obviously we're going to work with many partners, but someone has to really decide which pull requests are actually merged into the code base. And so that's really the kind of like the bottleneck that we see right now that the foundation has to decide, because there's going to be lots of bugs that we need to fix. There's lots of features the community wants to propose, lots of kind of like connectors that we want to add. And obviously, just like the Ethereum Foundation and other open source foundations that manage blockchain protocols, there's a limitation in terms of how much bandwidth can be spent on reviewing and merging in these pull requests, because each one, there might be security concerns, there might be kind of usability concerns, and so we want to make sure that the Hummingbot code base is like a well manicured garden going forward that everyone can use, and instead of kind of like a messy jungle, if you will.
Yeah, indeed. I think a great example of this dynamic is the YDX bounty that we had, where the winner strategy was one that we thinking as a market maker is kind of it's pretty important. That's the way where you can hedge your positions, and it's something we already had discussed internally if we should add a hedge strategy. But it was great to see that exactly one thing that we were thinking that were needed for the whole market maker strategy to be more complete. One user came in and used the opportunity of the bounty to create something that's going to be really useful to everyone that use Hummingbot one way or another, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so this hedge strategy that Carlo mentioned is coming in the next release, which is releasing I think today actually. So
Yeah, it's on that.
so yeah, so basically, and the test strategy, I think we've been testing ourselves as well, and it's a really good match for some of the new campaigns we have on Ascendex and Binance, where you can kind of like basically perfectly hedge your risk on DYDX, and also at the same time earn some DYDX tokens. So it's and
Yeah.
I think actually I'm actually going to create more content about this, because I think one thing that people maybe don't realize is the professional market makers out there, what they're really doing is they're really exploiting different opportunities all over the crypto landscape. And so it's kind of like trying to find the right, like the most like kind of optimal setups, if you will. But it's something that, I think it's something that we want to try to share with everyone else in the community as well.
Yeah, in a sense, is I would say that is not necessarily about how profitable is the strategy by itself, but what's the it's more about capital efficiency, right? So where are you going to deploy your capital, where you can take the maximum reward and profit as possible. So yeah, it isn't only one thing. It's a bunch of things together that actually make the market makers make money.
We'll get
Okay,
that, but the other thing I just want to mention, because like one thing that the Hummingbot Foundation is just an open source foundation, and we're doing it because it's like I think people have asked us, like, is it a DAO? It'll be a token and all these questions, and the simple answer is we want to let the foundation decide. It's like I would say, it is an experiment in a decentralized organization, one that's going to really govern and steer the open source project going forward. And so, how it governs itself, how it allows the community to, decide and steer the project, we want to leave up to the foundation. And because we really do view Coin Alpha's role separate. Coin Alpha's role is to support the ecosystem and to run businesses, but we're a for-profit company. We're not an open source project. So that's why I think it's kind of like, and I think I would say the other motivation I have is I really do think that other open source projects can follow this model as well. Because many open source projects have a situation where the maintainer, after a while feels like they're just, basically they're like a slave to the community. They have no way to sustain the project, but they also don't want to see it die. And so I feel like kind of if there's a way the community can kind of like steer going forward and almost like really the structured way for it to take it over, then it really makes open source a viable path for how software is built.
Yeah, that makes sense. Indeed, among the conversation, and also you mentioned on the announcement post, is that a lot of the inspiration come from the Linux organization, the Linux Foundation, right? Because if you think about it, one thing that started as a personal project today is like something that we have on everyone's phones, and everyone can create a version of it and share. And it's really amazing what can be done with open source.
Yeah. So end of the day, this is one big experiment, but I feel like it's something that really should happen. So hopefully, with the community and with everyone's support, we can really build like the Hummingbot into kind of like a really truly open source, community operated project.
Yeah, and the cryptocurrency ethos, where we are inserted on this ecosystem, right? So decentralization is kind of a big part of the whole idea of the origin of the cryptocurrency movements and markets.
Yeah, and plus, it's just like you're in Salvador, Brazil. I'm in Sunnyvale, California. We're working on the same team. And it's the fact that we can just work together and have a conversation like this is, I think, a testament to basically crypto. This is what the ethos of blockchain is all about.
Yeah, indeed. That's really, really amazing. Right. So I don't see many more questions on the chat, but if everyone is still want to keep talking about the ideas, anything, any suggestions that anyone can have, you can always find us on our Discord. We are there always looking into the community discussions, and we always we really like when there is a lot of new new things coming from the community, right? Because it starts to open up a lot of new ideas and new possibilities and things that it could be really interesting and beneficial to everyone that's part of the community. So find us there, and we will keep everyone updated as things go. And I personally am excited and want to see the foundation launch as soon as possible, but I know there is still a lot of work we need to do to get everything right and make everything works right. So yeah, any final words you want to leave to our community?
Yeah, no, I would say just keep on contributing. We're really ever since we announced Foundation, we've actually seen really upsurge in kind of community interest and contributions, and really that's what let's see. So overall, I would say just let us know what you think the foundation should work on, or even just raise your hand. Let us know on Discord if you want to take part and get involved, because we really do view this as a decentralized effort by everyone's community.
Yeah, and feel free to send us the DMs too. Maybe you sometimes you talk something on the chat when we can miss it. So feel free to send us some private messages, and we can always try to answer as best as possible. Right. Guess that's it. And thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Mike. And let's stay tuned to see whatever is coming on the next months. A lot of things to happen. Right. See you all, and bye everyone.